Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a new news bulletin in which we're going to discuss the craziness of these markets as Cardano doesn't seem to stop. It found a cure for Corona, it seems to be. But we're going to discuss Cardano and we're going to discuss Icon with some stuff that I derive from these charts and some tips and tricks for you as well. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel. I'll be back tonight at 8 p.m. Central European Time on Thursday, the 11th of February, in which we're going to be live streaming. It's been about 2 weeks since I went offline with my eyes and stuff, but I'm back, 90% back, so tonight there's going to be a live stream. We see Cardano, and we have made an update a few days ago regarding Cardano, in which we were discussing some next levels to watch for this one. And the first thing here is that I want to discuss is that once an altcoin starts to run, it runs heavily and it doesn't really provide many corrective moves at all. So what we see here is that every move becomes stronger the further we get into the bull cycle. And to be sure, 2017 was just a small cycle, just the first awareness case. We're just heating up in the next cycle at this point, and I'm quite sure that our cycle is going to take longer, which will mean that prices will accelerate heavily, far higher than what we saw in 2017. And just as a comparison, I know it's Amazon, but Amazon, the dot-com bubble was this period here. It's just showing. The price was $100 back in the day. Right now we're at 3.4. Doesn't look too great for Amazon, but it just shows how small the previous cycle could be if we get a really big new cycle. So if you have been accumulating your position in Cardano or in every other altcoin, then you just let it run until the market starts to become or change momentum for a little while. Then what are you going to do if this starts to run this heavy? First of all, you have to rebalance your portfolio based on the percentages that you have in your portfolio. So for instance, if you have altcoins only at this point and Cardano ran this heavy, you should be taking partial profits. Simple reason is that once something goes this far up, a correction will easily bring the price down heavily from here. Why is that? The case is that you don't see many support levels in between. So the moment it starts to shift, it's immediately down 30%. What do I mean to say with that is that you should not be closing your entire position, but only partially. So if you take about like 10 to 15 or 25% out of your position, you lock profits, you have liquidity in your trading portfolio through which you are a little bit more flexible if market circumstances start to shift. For sure, Cardano is easily going another 10x from here, as the entire market will do a 10x from here in the coming years. But that will be through waves, and your goal is to start accumulating positions and to increase your size, to compound your profits, to maximize your profits. The only way to do that is to be flexible at all times. So what we see here is also a corrective move. If you see Ethereum in the run in 2017, there were corrections of 50 to 70%. Those corrections you don't want to be selling into. You want to use those dips to start buying more, or to use the poor profits that you've taken out of the markets partially to use that liquidity to buy the dip once again. So next thing I want to discuss is that Cardano has seen some serious momentum on social media. Frequently when stuff is doing really well, you will see Cardano or like that specific project do well on social media, causing many people to jump into the markets. That's how the nature of people work, which requires you to be relatively conservative. Like Cardano is not an entry right now. If you're looking at it from a trader's perspective, you're looking at a correction to happen on the entire markets, and then you want to exploit yourself towards the markets. Second, there's still projects out there that still did not see any move at all. You should be looking at those, as those are not being discussed on social media at all. However, if you want to look at it from an investment perspective, these prices are probably still relatively cheap. So if you want to start accumulating Cardano for an investment approach, then you can use the DCA dollar cost average strategy, in which you just buy a portion every day or a portion at every 10 cents or 5 cents that it drops. So you get a nice average buy-in, and then if you're looking at it from an investment perspective, you're going to hold it for several years. So that is the stuff that I want to discuss. Cardano, as we can see, I've used the Fibonacci extension tool and we accelerated heavily towards the targets that we have here. Are we going to accelerate? Are we going to correct? I'm not sure. It looks a little overextended like the majority of the markets are. I'm heavily interested in what Bitcoin is going to do from here. It's a little fragile. If 44k is lost, then we're going down. But this is a nice zone. Where are we going to look at if we get a corrective move for Cardano? Well, we can take the entire one. Then I'm going to look at the area around 65 cents, 50 cents, and then obviously around the 40 cents level, which I do not expect to see. If we get there, then that is still fine. Then I'm just buying the dip again. So if we look at the Bitcoin pair, we can see that it's still just heating up. And we just broke through a level. We are making new higher highs, higher lows, as we can see. We can use the Fibonacci extension tool to derive targets here as well. Says that we're quite close. So we said this is the next target zone for the Fibonacci extension tool. As we are also making higher lows, we are looking at either this range around 1100 sats and second this range around 1300s. That is a potential entry zone. If that holds, we get a similar corrective period and then we start to accelerate heavily. And then you might be using the 2.618 Fibonacci extension tool, as then the next target zones will be these or these. And that would grant another big move towards $2 or more. So that is the case for Cardano right now. It's quite difficult to say, okay, you should be buying in at this point. I'm not going to say that, especially given the vertical move. If the trend starts to shift, you should be aware that it could cause some pain, and then you could be looking at some day trade scalps. So for instance, the area here is a day trade scalp, or any of these two zones I would be looking at for a day trade opportunity. But for now, it's just massively grinding up, and definitely Cardano will be a big winner, just like the majority of the platforms will be doing well. But if we see this chart, you should be aware that there is just not an entry at this point. Does it mean that we can't copy paste e-gold? We probably can, but also e-gold is not an entry at this point, as you might be aware of. So Cardano is accelerating nicely, and the question is, how far will it go? That's depending on how Bitcoin is going to move from here. So I hope you have enjoyed this video about Cardano with my tips and tricks, and I'll be back tomorrow with my top altcoins to watch. And tonight at 8 p.m. Central European time, we're going to have the live stream. So don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you finally again tonight at 8 p.m. Central European time.